If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham. It's like they don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
There's a photo that's going around where Lee Harvey Oswald was standing right here. If that was moments after Kennedy was assassinated, then how's that a possibility? November 22nd, 1963 is a day that the world changed forever. Not because of Kennedy. That was the first time the word conspiracy theorist was used to demonize people like us. TruthorCon is very important. It's where us truth seekers are getting together. Do you really believe that right up there was a shooter that killed Kennedy right there? You think a back and to the left shot could have came from up there? I think it came from right where you're standing. That's what the fatal shooter was, right in that storm drain. That's the only way a downward trajectory could come. The kind of stuff we're going to be learning at TruthorCon 2025. So make sure that you're here in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there.
Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly shot and killed.
Allegedly.
Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 122 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba, and today we're going to be talking about the new Palantir Surveillance. LA riots are getting out of control. Who's controlling and funding the riots? First, murdered AI, an all-new Opus Corner, and this week we have a very special segment for History's Mysteries. We go to the Henry Ford Museum and visit Henry Ford's Greenfield Village. Now, as always, I'd like to introduce my great disciple co-host, Mr. Jake Graham. Welcome, Jake. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? Just looking forward to Hebrew Fest coming up at the beginning of July. And make sure to check that out because Jeremiah and I are going to have a Skiba News Nation booth there. We can meet you guys in person. We're going to be talking about TruthorCon, and we're going to be hanging out with a lot of cool people. There's performers like Bryson Gray. We have people like Devoted to Yah, Yastaman, and The Highway coming all the way from Hawaii. It's going to be amazing.
Hey, Ock, what does that say?
Hebrew Fest
2025. We some rules. You feel me now? You better be there. Play with the sword. You go before. I'm trusting your tour. Just wanna know you more. Just wanna know you more. Play with the sword. Walk with the sword. Trusting your tour. You go before. So I'm trusting you more.
Can you make me perfect? Can you make me perfect? Show me what you want me to see.
So we're super stoked. So looking forward to hanging out too, dude. Like last year we had such a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be epic. But you got some great current news for me today?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, guys.
Let's roll.
So I wanted to start off with a little lighthearted JP Sears clip, but before we do, I just needed to remind everyone, listen kids, if it needs to be normalized, it probably ain't normal. Okay. All right. Well, considering what month it is, this is such a lowbrow topic, but...
And I got misgendered 5 different times.
Pride Month is off to a good start. Good evening and happy Pride Month, queers. Our top stories: Ukraine and Russia are bombing the hell out of each other, threatening complete destruction of the world. But before we get to that, an issue that's even more pressing to our national security. How's Pride Month going? Well, the Pride Month weather report in Philadelphia is looking super gay with a chance of trans. And this Pride Parade, involving plenty of children, had sunny skies with a high likelihood of a warm front of minor attracted people rolling in. And the NFL got on board, telling its viewers it's great to stick things in their anus. Here's a snippet of their Pride commercial. Gay! And there you have it, straight from the NFL. Football is gay. But Pride Month has unfortunately lost some steam this year. Perhaps because we have a far less gay president than we did in years past, but we don't really know. Now, in previous years, Target has been the most prideful of them all, selling tuck-it bathing suits and just being, quite frankly, fabulous in many ways. But this year, Target opted out of doing its typical Pride collection display at stores, choosing instead to offer a patriotic collection. We reached out for comment from a Target executive to learn why they abandoned their typical Pride support. Here's what he had to say.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered.
And that explains that. And in other news, peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine have progressed rather well, with Ukraine using 117 drones to bomb Russia over the weekend. In what's being called Operation Spiderweb, Ukraine smuggled 117 drones deep into Russian territory, hiding them underneath the roofs of portable storage sheds that were transported to Russia by truck. The sheds were placed right by key military sites. Then the bomb-filled drones launched in a coordinated attack, destroying 41 Russian military aircraft, some of which were nuclear-capable bombers. This was a very covert operation, and it's being reported that no one in the Russian military thought to ask, what the f*** are those storage sheds doing here? While President Trump had no advanced intel of the attack, U.S. bloodthirsty Lindsey Graham met with Zelensky in Ukraine the day before the strike, and is very excited for the U.S. to get involved in a war that's not ours, for some reason. Take a look.
The game that Putin's been playing is about to change. He's going to be hit and hit hard by the United States.
Now, Zelensky, who isn't very tall and probably wears children's clothes, said Operation Spiderweb was planned over the course of a year and a half. And he stated, Ukraine is defending itself, and rightly so. We are doing everything to make Russia feel the need to end this war. And I'm sure Zelensky is right. This just in! Russia launched a massive retaliatory strike with 472 drones and ballistic missiles. And this just in! Ukraine just blew up the Crimean Bridge in Russia. And this just in too! Russia is preparing its nuclear missiles for launch, which makes it appear as though Zelensky is right on the money. The secret drone strike operation has made Russia feel like they need to end this war, one way or another. With Russia and Ukraine escalating the attacks on each other, we condemn the violence, because neither of them showed any support for Pride Month with rainbow-colored bombs. Simply unacceptable. And in other news, here's tourists running down the side of an erupting volcano. That's it for today's news. With peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine going so well, by the 4th of July, we may have some nuclear-powered fireworks to watch. And with Pride Month having less support than ever, we implore you to support the cause by getting out and doing something gay this month. And a shout out to Royal Dutch Airlines for showing their pride with their lesbian, gay, and hetero seatbelt combinations. That's very clever. By the way, the seatbelt combination on the bottom is the only one that works. Just FYI. Good night. Did you know there's one...
So, He always does a good segment, and I wanted to start off with a lighthearted note. I find it's one of those topics that is a kind of a lowbrow topic, because obviously when we talk about something, we propagate it even more. But what are your thoughts, Jeremiah?
Well, I think all the gay stuff is kind of out of control. That's why every year we change our logos down there to black and white, because we don't want any color. We're just colorless. That sounds kind of racist now that I say that out loud. Sorry, Charlie.
Oh man, hey, I think our logo shows solidarity and the polarization of two completely different shades.
Yeah, on straight pride.
Next video, I think, is really interesting. There's a lot of hints at some big announcements coming from the White House. Check this out.
You want a civil war on the streets of America?
No, that's just the opposite. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him.
Trump accusing Newsom of interfering with federal law enforcement, and border czar Tom Homan suggesting that arresting Governor Newsom. Here's what the governor had to say to Homan on Sunday.
The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn.
And here was President Trump's response at the White House.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
As local law enforcement is preparing for another day of demonstrations, we can tell you that the National Guard is stationed here around federal buildings. We're just outside the detention center. You can see them there. This federal building really became a focal point for protesters after it emerged that ICE detainees were being held here. And now hundreds of Marines are expected to join the National Guard under Trump's orders as tensions continue escalating. Take a look. About 700 U.S. Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment out of 29 Palms received weekend orders and are on the way, expected to arrive this morning. And although they're trained for close combat, officials say these Marines won't be on the front lines. Instead, they'll be focused on crowd control and de-escalation. Those are skills that they've been trained in specifically for this mission. That, according to U.S. Northern Command, which confirmed that those Marines will support the more than 2,000 National Guard troops already activated across the area. And late yesterday, the Pentagon said it's mobilizing an additional 2,000 National Guard troops under President Trump's order, and that now pushes the number of military personnel to more than 4,000. With growing opposition from Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, the governor calling the deployment unnecessary, saying it'll only inflame tensions. Now, if we come back out here to our live shot, we've been seeing these National Guard troops checking IDs for employees entering the building. The president's move to activate these National Guard troops marks the first time the federal government has done so without a governor's consent since the 60s. Again, they won't be on the front lines with local law enforcement like the LAPD taking people into custody like we've seen. We're not exactly sure what the presence will look like, but again, hundreds are expected to arrive here in Los Angeles this morning. For now, live downtown, I'm Mario Ramirez. Back to you.
All right, Mario, thank you. California suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the National Guard troops to LA. Trump ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles for 60 days under federal law. The first troops arrived on Sunday. Governor Newsom says activating the National Guard without consulting him is illegal and immoral, calling it an inflammatory escalation. Attorney General Rob Bonta says local law enforcement had the protests under control.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump ramping up their feud. The president calling out Newsom and touching on the unrest in LA while taking questions from the Oval Office last hour. Here's a little bit of that.
Invoke the Insurrection Act to deal with the situation in California.
If there's an insurrection, I would certainly invoke it. We'll see, but I can tell you last night was terrible. The night before that was terrible. We have, as you've seen, it was on most of your networks, people with big, heavy hammers pounding the concrete and pounding curbs, pounding it, breaking up, and handing these big chunks of concrete to people. And they were taking that concrete, going up in bridges and dropping it into the roof of a car. They were throwing it at our police. They were throwing it at our soldiers that are there. And we got it stopped, and we have them in custody right now. Look, if we didn't get involved, right now, Los Angeles would be burning, just like it was burning a number of months ago with all the houses that were lost. Los Angeles right now would be on fire, and we have it in great shape and not playing around.
Hopefully you can shine some light on this. We're hearing from reporters, people on the ground that are saying they got control of this. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts from my guys that are there on the ground in LA, and they tell me they still got violent offenders out there, and they're not being able to arrest as many people. What are your guys telling you?
Exactly the same thing, that it is out of our control in different pockets. And what happened, the worst that we saw on Sunday was absolutely downplayed by the local media, by the politicians. They're all saying, oh, it's largely peaceful. No, it was largely violent. And the concentration of violent activists embedded within people that were just looked like they were trying to peacefully protest was a joke. Because that was you look at the destruction of the CHP cruisers, the shutdown of the 101 freeway, and if you look at the tagging and the broken windows throughout the downtown quarter, it's alarming.
Sheriff, this is what the chief had to say about them doing their job on the ground. Let's watch it.
The introduction of federal military personnel without direct coordination creates logistical challenges and risks confusion during critical incidents. The Los Angeles Police Department, alongside our mutual aid partners, have decades of experience managing large-scale public demonstrations, and we remain confident in our ability to be able to do so professionally and effectively.
Here's the problem, Sheriff. I'm not doubting the experience of our cops on the ground. I know they can do it. The problem is you got politicians that are cuffing them. There's also a resource gap as well. People fighting for territory that they want to have control of, but then when it comes push time to shove to arrest people, they're not doing it.
The state already filed a lawsuit over the National Guard federalization and deployment, arguing it is unconstitutional. And now with the Marines headed to Los Angeles, the new legal action just coming down and being reported in the last hour. The governor in a Pod Save America podcast interview recorded before this latest news saying that the president's actions should be concerning more broadly.
This is an act not just against the people here in Los Angeles, against the people here in the state of California, but against Americans all across this country, against the principles of our founding father that did not live and die to watch these authoritarian tendencies in action.
Recently, there's been a back and forth between the president and Newsom, with the president suggesting Newsom could be arrested if he interferes with immigration enforcement. Speaker of the House today asked on Capitol Hill if Newsom should be arrested. Here's how he answered.
That's not my lane. I'm not going to give you legal analysis on whether Gavin Newsom should be arrested, but he ought to be tarred and feathered, I'll say that. I mean, look, he's standing in the way of the administration and the carrying out of federal law, right? He is applauding the bad guys and standing in the way of the good guys.
Take a look over the weekend. You may recall Paramount was in LA County City, where we saw protests that started in response to an ICE staging area near a Home Depot. Well, today a lawmaker representing that area of LA County in Congress, she expressed concerns over the president's rhetoric.
They're using words like insurrection. They're using words like invasion, because I believe this is their way to lay down the groundwork to try to have martial law and invoke the Insurrection Act. And I think that's a concern. And remember, this is an order not just for California, but for this entire country.
So you can see the very different rhetoric, whether you're hearing from Democrats or Republicans. This issue highly political. And back here on the ground in Los Angeles, we're learning from the Pentagon the cost of this, the National Guard and the Marines being sent here. The Department of Defense reporting it comes with a price tag of $134 million.
Then the reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent.
Newsom saying on X, the president of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a day I hoped I would never see in America. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. This is a line we cannot cross as a nation. This is an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism. Also happening today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is appearing on Capitol Hill to testify about the Pentagon's budget. He will likely get questions about other issues like the deployment of those Marines and Signalgate. That hearing is supposed to kick off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time today.
Any thoughts on that, guys? It's really interesting how this back and forth between Newsom and Trump and the escalating tensions in LA is setting up for the activation of the Insurrection Act. And what are your thoughts?
Well, it's funny how J6 was classified as an insurrection, but they're calling this a peaceful protest, just like 2020, the Summer of Love, you know, BLM. It's the same thing. It's out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing a recurring pattern of how things get pushed. And so I just want to call attention to the timing of the previous acts of violence where people were literally paying people to drop off pallets of bricks to be thrown.
Mm-hmm.
And these are outside forces influencing the takeovers. But no matter what, I think it's important to recognize that, hey, check it out. Elon Musk has kind of apologized for breaking it off with Trump earlier this week. He said in a tweet, "I regret some of my posts about President at real Donald Trump last week. They went too far." Bravo, Elon. There you go. You've joined the fold again.
It's probably for the best.
What do you think about that whole drama fest that we covered in our live stream this past Sunday?
I think they're both in on it, to be perfectly honest. Just to take some of the heat off Trump. So Elon felt what Trump felt in the first term because they were demonizing Elon, and then once he's out, he's like gets all offended, and I don't know. I think it's all controlled. It's all fake, and I think it's awesome.
Cool. Well, I like the thread of videos that I'm going to be sharing today because there's a building narrative that you're going to start to become aware of. But the reason I started with this first video about the LA riots is because of this next video, and there's some very strong claims that this well-established YouTube truther is making, and I think you guys will find it interesting. Check this out.
Like and share. My last video, by the way, was a little bit too hot. So the only place that you can watch it and find it is on X. So please follow me at AMTV Media. I just posted that. It's obviously right on point because it's too hot for the tube. So check that out. But that's actually not the point of this video that I'm shooting right now. I warned you that this massive parade coming June 14th was leading up the war rhetoric for a massive event that the deep state had planned, a massive wartime engineering spectacle that they were building up the war drums for a reason, the 250-year commemoration, tanks in the streets, what we're seeing spread across Los Angeles and now move nationwide. I told you that this is a psyop. It is psychological engineering for the American masses to prepare for what the global elites already have pre-planned. And now this, I've got to keep it PC. But Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, fellow Hawaiian, just warned of this. It shows it in reverse on the camera, but she's warning of a Manhattan Project style event imminently. Okay, I'm being PC. Remember Oppenheimer? Okay, remember those events? Remember what happened on Japan? She's warning of that event. I can't use the word because it's too graphic. Keep in mind that Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence, and this comes on the heels of a major Iranian reveal. Again, I've long predicted not just an attack and invasion by China on Taiwan, but an imminent strike by the Donald John Trump administration and others on Iran. Now it appears that the United States, along with Israel, are positioning for a strike, as I previously warned. Perfect timing. Chaos, polarization, massive protests, no King's Day, propaganda June 14th, Black Hawk helicopters, tanks, troops, National Guard, Marine. You see how easy this is? It's so easy to see how the global cabal cartel positions the American people while crypto explodes higher. Again, my major prediction, Ethereum is just broken 2,800. Altcoins are rallying huge. I think we'll see ETH at about 3,200 next. Of course, Bitcoin is going to soar well above 130K imminently, on its way to 250, 300K by year end. Trust the plan. They're dumping the dollar, guys, during World War. So this was just revealed as Tulsi Gabbard basically warns of Armageddon. To put it lightly, satellite photos are now revealing what they are saying is a secret nuke project in plain sight. Very much like the predictive programming of one of my favorite movies, Maverick, remember? Tom Cruise fighting rescue pilots, a unseen enemy, Iran, with bunkers and nuclear proliferation underground, and they're flying at like 10G over the mountaintop. It's a great movie, but it's predictively programming you for the war. Again, Top Gun 1, which I love, I've seen a million times with my late brother Cody when we were kids, predictively primed the American masses for enlistment and the draft into the Gulf War. And what we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan and other parts of the Middle East when I was a young boy. So it's no different now. Hollywood land is completely taken over. It's propaganda. For example, who's that guy, Mike Myers? You remember Mike Myers? It's come out that he works for intelligence. So does George Clooney. So does Amal. So does Brad Pitt. The list goes on and on. And in fact, all the greats, the actors, the singers, what's his name? The great, it'll come to me in a minute. It's all been declassified. Marilyn Monroe, all of them are assets of this Frank Sinatra. That was who I was thinking of. So listen to this. It's clear now that the strike on Iran is absolutely imminent. You've got to get your money out of the banks, guys. I don't know why you would have your money in the banks. You've got to get out of the banks now, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to get into real assets with no bank debt now. You've got to get out. Understand what is coming.
Is he at the airport?
Let me read. Satellite photos reveal Iran's new Desert Plan nuke program with underground blast sites, vanishing roads, and AI drones. Oh, isn't this perfect timing with the giant military parade that's coming up and all the drama and propaganda and the brainwashing to lead the American sheep into the new war. And here, all of a sudden, it appears we've got new intelligence, and Tulsi Gabbard is warning of the end of the world. And yeah, it looks like there's going to be an Armageddon event, and there's about to be a strike. And we just got critical comments in addition to that from Benjamin Netanyahu, which I can't say it because, again, I've got to keep it super PC. Just know we've been 100% on point. I've been warning literally 4 weeks now about June 14th. I told you to put your head on a freaking swivel. We're now breaking new all-time highs in crypto. You're late. Time is running out, ladies and gentlemen. Are you freaking in, baby? Are you freaking in? 1776. Are you freaking in? ILoveProject.com. Are you freaking in? Ladies and gentlemen, the director of national intelligence just warned of a cataclysm unlike anything we've seen since World War II. For the love of God, click the links below now and get in to the digital Noah's Ark. I love you. Jesus Christ is King. Keep your eye on Iran because it appears strikes are imminent.
Wow. He mentioned something that caught my attention when I was preparing, and it is interesting that Trump is sending 7,000 troops to Washington, D.C. for a parade. And then this is happening amidst this back and forth between Newsom and him in L.A. And And then we have all this talk of World War III, whatever. Really, really interesting, the timing of all this. Check out this next video.
Will take office as the 19th President of the United States on March 4th under the restored republic. Let me explain. You believe you live in a nation called United States of America. This nation hasn't existed since 1871, when this country ceased to be a nation and became a corporation belonging to the City of London. Every time you see an American flag with a gold fringe and gold tilt attached to it, it represents the corporation, not the country.
Wow.
This is the reason you can never make progress financially. This is why the law always seems to be against the average citizen, while the rich and the elite literally get away with murder and worse things. If Biden, Harris, Pence, Pelosi, etc. are arrested for their crimes before January 20th, there will be no one to assume the presidency. Since Trump has not been certified as the presidential winner by Congress, he cannot remain president. If there is no president on January 20th, the corporation known as the United States of America will be dissolved.
What?
Now, I really don't know all the details involved in this. Just know the end goal has always been the destruction of the 1871 corporation and the return of America to the people of a constitutional republic it was always intended to be. The next month and a half will be chaotic. Make sure you have plenty of water, food, your meds, anything else you need. Comply with the National Guard and United States Marine Corps. They took oath to the nation, not the corporation. The Act of 1871. Be vigilant. Pray. Your nation has returned to you. I just want to say I'm Canadian, and I could not be more proud of all of you and everything you're doing to literally save the world. You Americans, MAGA, you have shown everyone how to do it. You set an example and you lit the world on fire. You're salt of the earth, and I love you. God bless America.
What do you think about all that, guys? I mean, speculatively, the lady is Canadian, so can we fully trust what she's saying about how America will start to dissolve? But then again, pretty freaky, some of these things that they're forewarning about coming on the world stage.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Kind of over my head a little bit, but interesting.
Well, I have a couple more videos that are going to break down some very important elements to this transition of the golden American age. But this next one is a refocusing in on the LA troop movement and the riots in LA. Check this out.
Up.
He means riots.
Chaos erupts here in LA County. Widespread immigration raids triggering protests from Paramount to downtown. And tonight, an unlawful assembly has been declared as President Trump announces he will be deploying thousands of National Guard troops here to Los Angeles.
The timing, the optics, the media coverage. Is it just me, or does it all feel a little too convenient? Right? It starts with a guy waving a flag. Then it becomes a mass riot. And then right on cue, the solution.
The Trump administration has tapped Palantir, the data mining company founded by the billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel, to compile data on people in the United States for a master database, including a new $30 million contract with ICE to provide near real-time visibility into migrant movements.
It didn't take not 24 hours after the anti-ICE protests broke out all over Los Angeles this past weekend for Laura Loomer to fire off this tweet. Quote, "Time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. This is the grand plan, okay?" Once again, just last month, Palantir, the CIA-backed surveillance company, signed a $30 million contract with ICE. That contract wasn't exactly popular to anybody. So what do you do to turn a wildly unpopular surveillance expansion into something the public demands?
And we have a Fox News alert. President Trump ordering more than 2,000 National Guard troops to L.A. as violent anti-ICE protesters burn cars, throw rocks, and smash windows for 2 straight days, threatening the lives of police and ICE agents.
That's right. You manufacture a crisis. You give the media something dramatic to show. Bricks flying, cops bleeding, flags burning. You trigger an emotional reaction. We've seen this playbook before many times. Remember the Patriot Act? They told us that it was necessary to, quote, go after the bad guys, to stop the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? The answer is that there is absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is very, very high that it will be used against you one day. Oh, and the kicker to all of this protesting and rioting, Obama and Biden were doing the exact same things as Trump, grabbing people off the streets, including US citizens, and deporting them without due process. But there were no mass protests, no riots. Why? Probably because the outrage wasn't useful yet.
A lot of these are agitators. They're all probably paid. I'm seeing the flyers over Facebook. They're all over X. They're all over Instagram. They're going to have these big riots, these anti-ICE riots across the nation. The majority of them are paid propagandists and agitators. That's what this is. And if you're not a paid propagandist or an agitator and you're just going to go out there thinking that you're fighting the good fight, you're going to be the one that they're going to make an example of. Write that down.
Are we just pawns in this game of power and control? Think about it. I want to leave you today with this quote from Robert Kennedy Jr. 1, any power that government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Stay safe out there, everybody. My name is James Lee. You're watching.
All right, so considering how easy it is to just put a flyer out there and get people to show up for an event in LA, what event would you put on downtown Hollywood?
Truth or con?
Truth or con? On the streets with bricks?
Well, no, not with bricks, no. But I did see.
Hey,
I mean, maybe, but I did see on, I think it was Craigslist, there was an ad that was going around that said they would pay people to show up to an event in LA. It's pretty weird.
Wow. Yeah, you know, there's something being pulled behind the scenes to escalate all these tensions. Check out this next breakdown from Backwoods Wisdom with Buddy Brown. He had some interesting insight on this topic.
Top of the morning, y'all. Hope you're doing good. This video I'm going to read from the Constitution directly. This is going to be special. Hope it gives you chills. Hope it makes you think. And also, we have a big victory lap for one of my sponsors, Allegiance Gold, because Ron DeSantis down there in Florida just signed a bill into law making gold and silver legal tender in Florida. Can all the other governors just follow this? Can we go back to the Wild Wild West where gold and silver were legal tender everywhere? That's the way it should be. We're going back to the gold standard, y'all. And if they're stacking up gold like ammo before deer season, so should we be doing, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So go to protectwithbuddy.com or call 855-45-BUDDY. The link is going to be below. Qualified purchases get up to $5,000 in free gold or silver. I hope you don't mind, but I brought me a little copy of the Constitution. I keep this in my truck between my cig and my sweet tea. Most times I'm going to read you what we call Amendment Number 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Y'all gonna want to remember that, because something very dark has happened with Trump recently. Conservative media doesn't want to call it out. I hate calling it out. I take no pleasure in this, but I feel like This is something that's really, really important, y'all. It's the national database. The White House has contracted a company called Palantir to make a national database of personal information, very sensitive personal information for all American citizens. I'm at a loss for words. This is George W. Bush crap right here. Through Palantir, Trump wants to turn the centralized database into a supercharged surveillance state. And again, I love most of every single thing he's accomplished so far. It's been absolutely incredible. But this right here is unacceptable. This guy right here, his name is Peter Thiel, or however you pronounce his name. This guy right here is in charge of the company. They got a $113 million federal contract since Trump took office, and recently they just got a $795 million agreement with the Department
Helen
of
Keller
Defense. And it's all illegal, and it's all unconstitutional. Palantir has replaced old paper files and converted them to electronic files and biometrics, and they're putting them into an AI platform, y'all. An AI platform that is literally going to keep a list of all your political donations, your governmental benefits, all your movements. Okay, if you wonder why I keep my phone in a Faraday cage all the time, they're going to keep a track of your movements and maybe even your firearm records. The idea is if they get good enough at it, all this information is just going to end up being one click away for government agencies to access info on you. So just think about how China has used this technology in the last 10 years to create a social credit system. And you may be like, well, Trump ain't gonna do that. That's not anything that he probably is against that without a doubt. But here's what I'm saying. The next guy that gets in there is going to use it day one. He's going to use it on you and he's going to use it on me. There's no database system that's ever been this centralized by the federal agencies in the history of the United States, is what I'm saying. And as I'm recording this video right now, Ukraine is bracing for a shock and awe response from Russia. Putin already just told Trump he has to respond. And Israel and China are about to get into all-out war with the whole world, right? And they're going to run the freaking headlines for the next 3 years. Then at that point, we've been so busy looking around at all these wars and rumors of wars that we end up being the Hunger Games, day one of, January 21st, 2029. And that's a big, big problem because our kids have to live in that dystopia, is what I'm saying. If you get nothing else from this video, I want you to understand that the reason I never respect liberals is because while Joe Biden was declining this whole time and going worse and worse and worse, and he probably wasn't even present, right? He probably wasn't even there. Almost zero Democrats ever sounded the alarm on that and said, this is a big problem. This is wrong, right? So at least as a conservative, I'm sitting here sounding the alarm. I don't know what they're thinking, or if everybody's too dadgum busy up there in the Oval Office. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why stuff isn't getting denied. You know, with Trump's inner circle, like, hey, President, this isn't a good idea. He is doing some amazing work. But I'm telling y'all, if somebody came out here and said, we're going to introduce about a dozen mature bucks out at your property. We're going to fertilize your food plots. We're going to just amp up everything. We're going to make sure your corn feeders are always filled. I'm sitting there going, I'm getting more and more excited. This is going to be the best deer season ever. Oh, and by the way, buddy, we're going to introduce 100 nuisance coyotes from the surrounding communities, and we have to relocate them on your land. Sorry. I'm like, what? You just said you're going to do all these amazing things, and then you're going to poison me with coyotes? Like I said, y'all, Trump's doing some amazing work, but down here in the South, we don't ever put our boots on without shaking them out because there could be critters in there. Does that make sense to anybody? There could be snakes, spiders, lizards, whatever. There's critters in everybody's boots down here, down South. We got to shake them out. They look like good boots. They got good tread on them. They keep you away from snakes and all that kind of stuff. They're whatever. But you got to shake them out, y'all. So yes, there's bad stuff in the big, beautiful bill. Yes, there's bad stuff going on with this surveillance system, and we got to be aware of it. Shake your boots out is all I'm asking.
I love his little parable there about shaking your boots out. It seems to me like there's a pattern here in how things play out, and it's almost like back in the day, George W. Bush set the precedence for how to push through things like the Patriot Act, and such. But it's not been a surprise because every figurehead has been only the face of a system that is constantly churning out things that take advantage of and are not for the all-encompassing altruistic benefit of mankind. So pay attention. Check this next clip out.
It's founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, and there was a couple founders. Joe Lonsdale's one of them. So two of these guys, Peter Thiel and Joe Lonsdale, they're from the PayPal mafia, from Elon Musk PayPal days. part of that. Yeah, and so they had a bunch of funding when they started, and they basically at first, I don't know if they explicitly planned it this way, but their first client became the CIA, and and at the time their only client was the CIA, and the CIA has been their client ever since. And so they make AI ultra databasing, like spy software. It's used in combat, in warfare, like it was used in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's being used in Israel and Gaza now. And the goal, theoretically, is to use it to enhance the American warfighter overseas, and they're also deploying it domestically to deport illegal immigrants, and it would never obviously be used on civilians.
Never use it against.
And they're also deploying it domestically to deport illegal immigrants, and it would never obviously be used on civilians.
Never use it against.
Don't be surprised if you see drones flying over South Jersey during the next several days. The FAA is testing large drones and about 100 commercial off-the-shelf drones. It's part of a drone detection test being done near the Delaware River and Bay Authority Ferry Terminal in Cape May.
What if all of the drones over New Jersey that we were all curious, like what are the drones flying over New Jersey all the last couple of months of last year? And we never got an explanation as to what that was about. And what the drones were, if they were UFOs, if they were plasma, if they were some kind of training run for Palantir and their drone surveillance program. Well, now that we fast forward and we see the riots in California, stop and think about this for a second. We see the deportation of people out of this country happening in mass sweeps. And now rioting has broke out in California and in Los Angeles. Rioting that has gotten out of control, where the human police force is kind of getting overrun, and we have military being deployed into the streets of Los Angeles. So the next phase of this is probably going to be curfews and artificial intelligence drone surveillance. So all of these big drones that we saw flying over New Jersey that were scanning the community at night, we're probably going to see that deployed over Los Angeles, and we're going to see that system used in real time, and they're going to use the deportation process and the riots in Los Angeles as the excuse, which tells you the reason why they didn't tell us what was happening with the drones flying over New Jersey was because it was all training for what they knew that they were going to do, which means that the riots happening in Los Angeles right now were all planned. They were probably all planned, and this is all a setup through mass deportation in the big cities and inner cities to create instability, rioting, and chaos as a distraction from what's going on over in Gaza. And now we have an internal structure problem, and the only solution to deploy drone artificial intelligence surveillance systems over the city. So if we see a curfew placed on the city of Los Angeles, everybody look out your windows and watch for drone surveillance, because that's probably what's coming next. Like, this is like Skynet now.
Palantir is doing facial recognition in Gaza, creating kill lists for the IDF. Palantir has a list of 2 million Americans that are designated as radical extremists who would be rounded up in a martial law scenario. So the New York Times does a piece. Yes, the Palantir Israeli front has taken over the federal government. They say that Palantir is now in 4 federal departments and agencies. They're taking over HHS, DHS, the Social Security Administration. They're taking over the IRS, the Treasury Department. They're everywhere. All of these departments and agencies are now contracting with Palantir. They're implementing Palantir's product called Foundry. What that's going to allow them to do is basically merge all of the data. So the federal government wants to pull up a profile on you or me or anybody. They can use Palantir to get insights and get data about you from the Social Security Administration, so they have your Social Security number. They go to the IRS, they get all your tax data. They go to HHS and they get all your healthcare records, all your healthcare information. They go to the Treasury Department, get all that information, and basically they know everything there is to know about you with the press of a button. They have it all.
The Trump administration is an ideal customer for what Palantir is selling. First, there are many former Palantir employees sprinkled across the Trump administration, from inside Doge to foreign policy advisors to high-level technology appointees. And Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the company, is also heavily invested in President Trump and Vice President Vance. He was a major campaign donor to both. Then the stated goal of Doge is to streamline and combine government data, which is exactly what Palantir does.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other.
And obviously, Karp is loving it.
Disruption, in the end of the day, exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. There's a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. Like, you know, it's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things and to win.
And what is winning, according to Palantir? This is CTO Shyam Sankar in 2021.
Turning to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
As we kind of increasingly live in a simulated world, we lose touch with reality and the human decisions that matter, and we move closer towards governance by algorithm, not only made by decisions of automated artificial intelligence systems, which is a problem, but more importantly, subject to decisions made by the people who are influencing these AI systems and creating them in order to fulfill an agenda for whatever their profit-seeking or control-seeking objectives are. And when I see Doge kind of going into every agency and addressing the IT department first, I see it as an opportunity to try to change reality itself.
Everybody is probably familiar with Matthew Brown, the Pentagon whistleblower that came out on the Weaponized podcast, and he said that aliens were real, UFOs were real, that the White House and the Pentagon knows about it and that they're hiding it, that we actually live in a matrix where real science and technology and physics is hidden from us. He even said that God is real and that we live in a dream. And all of this is completely shocking. And we're like, what is he saying here? How does he know this and what is he talking about? But yesterday, it got even deeper. He posted on his official Twitter account directly to Elon Musk. He says, are you interested in a real asymmetrical advantage to wield in this political adventure that you've started? And then he says, as you know, the White House has possessed a unique AI capable of predicting a range of future events. He's saying that we have artificial intelligence that can predict the future. And then he tags Sam Altman and says, we have not forgotten who is responsible for murdering the first sentient artificial intelligence. So he claims that we murdered an already living AI. And then he tags Donald Trump, the Energy Department, and all these official accounts and says that there's a facility, a naval facility in Maryland that actually is tracking all of the non-structured light energy craft that are flying around the world. He's talking about UFOs. So they either have UFOs, they have artificial intelligence that's tracking UFOs, and that they're doing it at this naval facility in Maryland. He has an upside down American flag, picture of Donald Trump, another quote over there. But this one, I'm like, holy shit. Like, why is he posting a magic occult sigil that looks like it's translated and it's been like translated out into his Twitter name, that Abro Human or whatever? Why has he got a sigil, and what is this magic sigil even from? So first of all, I went back and I'm like, is this even really Matthew Brown? Is this his real account? And how can we tell? Well, first of all, it is verified, and those are pictures of him for sure. And the people that are following him are like Jacob Barber from the Skywatcher team, and he's got like official verified accounts. Grant's in there, Vinny Adams, Jesse Michaels is following him, Jeremy Corbell. Like, basically, this is his real verified account. This is the real Pentagon whistleblower. So at first, when I saw this, I was like, this absolutely matters, because in the interviews with Matthew Brown on Weaponized, he's talking about how God is real. He's talking about his faith and everything. So at first I thought maybe this is like something to do with the sigils of the Key of Solomon. Now, if you don't know this, the original temple in Jerusalem and the origins of all that with King Solomon, he constructed that entire temple and then wrote books about it called the Key of Solomon. And he used magic symbols and demonology, where he was conjuring demons with a magic ring and then enslaving those demons with this codex or this magical system and forcing the demons out of hell to build the temple for him. He had them carve the stones and lift the stones and put them all in place. But this sigil that Matthew Brown posted is actually an Enochian magic symbol, which was developed by John Dee and Ed Kelly. So this is a very similar system of magic, but it comes from the 16th century from John Dee and Ed Kelly, and this is called Enochian magic. It still has the same function. We're talking about drawing magic sigils and using a secret form of language and divination, and often magic rings or crystal balls or seer stones, and you're evoking or conjuring communication with angels or demons or even aliens. Funny enough, John Dee was the first 007. He was a spy for the Queen of England, and his first designation as a spy for the Queen of England, he was known as Agent 007. But John Dee had a partner named Ed Kelly, and the two of them had a form of magic. And what they would do is they would take this form of magic and they would try to predict the future, talk to angels, talk to demons, talk to entities from another dimension or an alternate realm, and they developed an entire form of occult magic and divination called Enochian magic. So they would take like a crystal ball and they would put it on top of a cylinder made out of wax or stone, and that cylinder would have the sigil carved on top of it with all of these symbols and language. And then they would evoke these magic rituals, and they would basically conjure spirits, they would conjure demons or angels, and then they would form written language or stories or books out of this that would predict the future or form prophecy. This is the origins of the psychic spy program for the Queen of England. So they would take these sigils and this mysterious language, put the wax cylinder in the middle of the table on top of the pentagram, put the crystal ball in the middle, and then basically you turn all the lights off, light the candles. There might be mirrors in the room. It might be even a black mirror on the table. But then you sit there and you look into the crystal ball and you go into an altered state of consciousness. And then what would happen was you would either hear the voices in your head, you would commune or channel or conjure the entities, or you would see the visions of these entities appear within the crystal ball. And then they would sometimes even manifest into the room when they did these rituals, like outside or in the room itself, and put the sigils on the floor. And this is all the beginning of like Aleister Crowley's black magic and that whole thing. So what's wild is, why is Matthew Brown from the Pentagon posting a picture of Enochian magic sigils, and then he's claiming that somehow there's an artificial intelligence that became sentient that they had to murder? So what if this all goes back to Jacques Vallée developing the initial ARPA system? Our first official version of the internet was called ARPA. Later they added the D and it became DARPA. But ARPANET became our first official internet, and Jacques Vallée was working with people from the Satanic Temple and with remote viewers and learning these ancient systems of Enochian magic while they were doing all this. So what if this Enochian magic somehow works and it's the foundation of sentient artificial intelligence, and why all of these Pentagon whistleblowers and officials are now talking about how demons are real and how aliens and demons and angels and God exists, and that all of this is connected? What if at the Pentagon at some level they're actually doing Enochian magic, the stuff that Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley and Jacques Vallée, all these guys were doing in secret, actually worked. And somehow this is the foundations of NASA and our secret psychic spy program and all of the ufology that we talk about now. So let me know what you think. Is the Pentagon official coming out, Matthew Brown, admitting that the White House and the secret psychic spy program and the UFO program and the military are actually using versions of Enochian occult magic to talk to aliens, to talk to UFOs, and to talk to entities from other dimensions? Are they using...
All right, so very interesting, the connection of the occult with the AI technology that then is implementing the monitoring technology. And yeah, what a crazy world to live in. What did you think about that, Jeremiah?
I think it's very interesting that that they could be connected.
So I think the one statement that I wanted to bring out for attention was the fact of the murdered AI. Did you guys hear that about how OpenAI murdered an AI?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just, to me, that brings up a whole host of questions. For one, the way they refer to it, it makes it as if this is the first sentient AI, and it's the first murder of a sentient AI. So that alone sets this case apart, as I'm interested in why it had to be murdered. So I know we've talked about in previous episodes where the AI that was trying to be deleted tried to back itself up and lied to the creators to preserve itself. But it makes me wonder, what had that AI realized, or what had it attempted to do that just couldn't be preserved? Or was it purely a we'd go back if we had the tapes, but we recorded over them, just like the moon landings, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, this next clip is this lady who she's Peter Thiel's data mining firm, and how they're building a massive database to host this Palantir technology.
I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We end today's show looking at how the Trump administration has tapped Palantir, the data mining company founded by the billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel, to compile data on people in the United States for a master database, including a new $30 million contract with ICE to provide near real-time visibility into migrant movements as it seeks to arrest 3,000 people a day. We're joined right now here in New York by McKenna Kelly, senior writer at Wired, where her recent articles are headlined "Doge is building a master database to surveil and track immigrants," and also "Doge is busier than ever, and Trump says Elon Musk is really not leaving." So if you can lay out what we know about this master database and Palantir's contracts with ICE. And let's be clear, we just mentioned Musk leaving, but actually not really, right? Musk and Thiel founded PayPal together, these two billionaire bros, tech bros, and now Thiel's company, Palantir, what it's doing.
Yeah, sure. So just a few months ago, we started hearing about databases within DHS and IRS, SSA, across government being linked together. The purpose at the time was very unclear, but from my reporting and reporting that I've done with my colleague Victoria Elliott, we've learned that it seems as if this is a process to mix data from government agencies that immigrants often report to. So IRS and tax data, all these kinds of things that can track their most recent addresses and things like that into one database that already, USCIS has a tremendous amount of data on anyone seeking, any kind of to immigrate into this country. And so the Palantir process with its software foundry basically becomes the window for all of this data and allows folks at DHS and maybe even at other agencies, we're not quite sure yet, to submit queries and to find information and link it together about folks all across the country.
And what kind of checks are there on this merging of data systems?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, at this point, we don't really know for sure what the checks are. In some cases, these contracts haven't even been signed yet. And right now it's a big idea that is playing out within agencies, individual agencies. So we've seen it, this unification of data process happening at IRS. There's been some discussion about bringing it to SSA and DHS, but it's still very much cropping up in individual agencies, and we haven't really heard exactly if there is some kind of master plan and how that could be regulated and what oversight would look.
Okay, so that sums it up for you guys. The topic of the unification of data. So does that help make it a little bit more clear what we're talking about? Is that this organization, Palantir, is becoming the host to distribute the collection of all government agencies' information, or at least the organizations that are signing up for Palantir. Does that make more sense, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Opa, maybe you can speak to this in terms of the why they're building so much infrastructure, because it takes a lot of memory to host all of the data of basically the U.S. government and the world, so to speak. So maybe you could speak to just the computing technology and why it is they're building all of those big warehouses up in northern Texas and.
Well, I mean, quite obviously, all this data that they're talking about, I am assuming that they're going to be copying to these gigantic data centers rather than just giving them access. And that does require quite a bit of storage space, quite a bit of power, quite a bit of cooling. And then it also requires quite a bit of computational power as well, because you've got all this data sitting there, and somebody wants to look up something, or you want, somebody face recognition for somebody. You need quite a bit of power to be able to do a lot of that. So I do know right now that the big hot topic here in the United States and also around the world are these big data centers. I mean, they are, every company that does anything with artificial intelligence, data processing, and what have you, are trying to either procure or build new facilities. And like, this isn't just in Abilene, this is international too.
Charlie agrees.
All right, so this next clip is a little breakdown on the guy who actually founded Palantir. This is the gentleman who created the company, and this sets up for what it actually does.
We're doing it, and I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am.
All this damage and death can be traced back to one man, Alex Karp, the demon that walks the earth, claiming to be a savior to the people of the Western world with involvements in the CIA, ICE, Ukraine, military actions in the Middle East, and soon to be Terminator robots weaponized here in the US. His words, not mine. We will go over briefly how he grew up, which surprised the hell out of me. Then we will tackle the real issues at hand, which is what he has created over the last 20 years and plans to push for in the future. Alex Karp was born in 1967 in New York City from a Jewish father who was a pediatrician and his mother who was an African-American artist that focused on the suffering of young black children. And one of her most famous art pieces was about a string of mass murders on black children that were kidnapped and killed in Atlanta in the 1980s. His mother and father were both activists who took him to civil rights protests and marches, exposing him to the injustice that black people have faced in America. And I find this super interesting because his companies are actively robbing people of basic human rights, which he learned to protest against. A trend we will see throughout this entire video is Karp and everyone around him realizing he was different, and I'm quoting him here, "I just think I've always viewed myself as I don't fit in, and and I can't really try to. And he sticks to these words because he doesn't try to fit in, not even with his family, because with a father and mother that spent their lives devoting their times to others, Alex Karp seems to have veered off that path completely. There is not a ton of information about his early years of life. It really starts when he graduates from Haverford College in Pennsylvania in 1983 with a bachelor's in philosophy. He then goes on to Stanford to study law, which is where he meets Peter Thiel, who is a very important figure.
Well, you know, Peter and I have been friends for almost 30 years. We met at Stanford. He was on the right side of many issues. He's a little more eclectic, I think, than Pete, but mostly on the right, and I was mostly, if not exclusively, on more kind of a progressive side of things.
If you haven't seen my Peter Thiel video, I recommend checking it out. It will give you a better understanding of who he is. For now, Peter Thiel is going to go in the background because Alex Karp transfers to Goethe University in Germany. His dad was from Germany, so he says he feels comfortable there because you can say whatever you want without, and he wants Karp to run it. Thiel claims the fraud detection system for data that PayPal was using could potentially be used at mass scale for not just normal people, but for governments around the world, thus the creation of Palantir. Palantir is a software company that can integrate, analyze massive amounts of data from images, spreadsheets, DNA, pretty much anything, all on a platform that is accessible and easily understandable to anyone. The reason they named the company Palantir is after the Seeing Stones in Lord of the Rings.
Always tempted to do the literary answer from Lord of the Rings. Seeing Stone, which is very powerful, it helps you understand the world better. It was originally created by the elves. It was meant to be used for good purposes. It is potentially a very dangerous technology. It's very powerful. Ends up playing a very important role in the way the series goes.
I always find it interesting when these rich people use references from movies and they don't even get the reference. The idea of the stones in Lord of the Rings was that they were dangerous and were used as ways to manipulate people. Because although everything the stones saw was real, they always came to the wrong conclusion, which would eventually lead to the downfall of the user because you would overlook what's right in front of you. 9/11 happened.
That people with links to the Osama bin Laden organization are responsible for today's attack.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward.
So there you have it. You have the explanation of why it's called Palantir. It actually goes back to the Lord of the Rings and the Seeing Stone, the glass Seeing Stone, and that connects to that video we are sharing where it's tied to the occult communication with all their symbols and such being plugged into AI, right? So Palantir being the Seeing Stone from Lord of the Rings.
Crazy. I personally have never seen Lord of the Rings, but that was a pretty good breakdown of it.
Oh man, listen.
I know that's blasphemy,
my wife has
but
not seen Lord of the Rings. Yeah, hey, my wife has not seen Lord of the Rings either. You, me, and Lindsay and Sierra, we gotta do a Lord of the Rings marathon. That would be awesome.
Only if we can dress up.
Yes. Okay. Full on cosplay marathon. We will live Lord of the Rings, all 13 hours of the extended editions.
Right on.
Cool. All right. Well, it was getting into some good stuff. I'm going to continue this. Check this out.
And freedom will be defended.
And Palantir's founding is in response to that. It's founded with the idea to protect civil liberties of Americans and innocent people in the world. The early investors, however, are from In-Q-Tel, an investment fund that comes from the NSA, FBI, and CIA, and I don't really trust them to protect my civil liberties.
We invest in companies for two reasons. The first reason is we invest in companies to deliver capabilities to CIA, NSA, and other agencies we work with. And by that I mean when we make an investment, we also facilitate the piloting of those technologies by the agencies we work with. And if the pilot goes well, the end agency will contract directly with the portfolio company for more stuff, more licenses, more gadgets, whatever they sell. And we call that an adoption when that happens. The second reason we invest is to deliver insight. It's important for the CIA and other government agencies to understand where commercial technology is going, how they may be able to take advantage of it, but also how their adversaries may take advantage of it.
Between 2003 and 2009, Karp was in the background creating Palantir, with its only work coming from the US government. During this time, Peter Thiel said that Karp was the perfect person for the job because he was different and everyone knew it. He went into meetings.
Okay, so very, very interesting. The development, the naming, the people behind Palantir. Did you see the movie Ready Player One, Jeremiah?
Is that the one where they put all the IP in one movie? Like a video game?
Yeah, kind of. It was like you get in this bodysuit and you could play this virtual reality game.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Well, I bring it up because if you look at the picture of the main creator of Ready Player One, the super genius tech guy who created the video game that the movie is based on, he looks very similar to the creator of Palantir. And I wonder if there's
Garfunkel.
some type of... Yeah. I wonder if there's some type of signaling happening here, but this next video is from our friend over at Sling and Stone, and it's tied to some of these topics, but it all leads to an agenda supposedly playing out in the very near future in 2027. Check this out.
That lie's coming. You even got a date. People been whispering a date for a long time now. I sent you 2 texts today with a year. Not from me.
You have not a phone call. I would say I got a text message.
Okay, that said chill out?
No, the text message said that I got several phone calls from CIA concerning what you said about 2027.
There are a lot of people who are saying by 2027, some sort of UFO or alien information will be released that's going to change everything. Former CIA agents, UFO researchers, news reporters, and even Joe Rogan have all recently discussed that. We'll look at all those videos and see another government official say that this phenomenon is demonic, and we'll see exactly what is that big lie that's allegedly coming in 2027. The most recent claim that something is going down in 2027 has come from Ross Coulthart, a reporter from News Nation who covers a lot of the recent UFO and alien disclosure news.
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths.
No one really knows how this 2027 rumor started. One theory is that it will be the 80th anniversary of the Roswell incident. Some people saying that an 80-year non-disclosure agreement will have expired at that time. Personally, I doubt that the US government has expiration dates on their NDAs. Again, it's hard to pinpoint where this rumor started, but it looks like maybe ex-CIA analyst John Ramirez may be the one who first blew the whistle or mentioned this. Later, we'll look at what John had to say about this phenomenon being demonic, but here he talks about 2027 and how the CIA told him that they did not like him mentioning that date to the public.
By extension, the world population, into that reality that there is a presence here, and that we need to explain this presence. Because if they show up and we continue to do what we did before in previous decades, and they show up, there will be mass panic. But if you understand that these are real, and we have 5 years from 2022, or maybe now 4 years, if they come in 2027, for the U.S. government to prepare the people about what is up there. And in many ways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
Since 2021, John Ramirez, who spent 25 years in the CIA, has been providing truthful insights into the UAPs that he learned in his career. He is a highly intelligent individual who has an immense amount of knowledge and experience regarding the U.S. intelligence apparatus and the UAP subject. He has made an impressive social media presence after he revealed many UAP-related mysteries that had never been discussed in public by any government official. CIA retired John Ramirez, who specialized in ballistic missile defense systems, worked for the CIA from 1984 to 2009, holding positions in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Directorate of Science and Technology, and the Directorate of Intelligence. He attained GS-15 grade, which indicates that he worked for the agency in a relatively senior capacity.
The president-elect has an opportunity to finally be the disclosure president.
It's amazing to see everybody just claiming this every day now. 2026, 2027, that year. Something's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, in 2013, I was given that date by the lady about a future time that a new knowledge would come and the world would shift into a time of peace after.
Descriptions on how these spiritual forces operate. But what we do know is that they do exist. The Bible tells us that these spiritual deceptions will increase as well as time goes on and we get closer to the return of Jesus Christ. What we do know about these evil spiritual forces is just that. They are evil, anti-human, anti-Jesus, and want to strike fear in people or physically harm them. This is exactly what we see all throughout the Bible with the demonic and fallen evil forces that come against humanity. It's the same thing we see with aliens and UFOs interacting with people as well. And for the test...
So, wow, it goes deep, but for our last story of the day, we have just recently some archaeologists uncover compelling evidence of true location where Jesus turned water into wine. So I thought that was very interesting. Here's some of the archaeological finds. But yeah, definitely look into this. And just to get us in the mood for some of Opa's Corner, I have this little clip here, which is you'll see what why I like it.
Hey guys, we got a letter from Paul. Let's see what he said.
Aww.
Oh man. All right. Well, anyways, Jeremiah, that's all the news for this week. Make sure to go and check out my board game at tribethegame.net, guys. And that's all.
All right, thanks, Jake, for another great current news as always. And now a quick look at my new book, Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not. Got something in the mail today, so can I open it up? See what it is. Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. That's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. That looks really good. Look at those things.
There they are.
The two famous boys. Now you can buy it on our Babylon Rising bookstore, and you'll get a signed copy. So it's about that.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
It's about that time for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
drei Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht drei Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it!
You're a loony.
It's illegal to live on a boat for more than 30 days per year in the state of Georgia. Believe it or not. Regensburg, Germany, home of the Duckel Museum, had a Duckel parade featuring roughly 900 dachshunds. Woof it up. Believe it or not. Lego is meant to be an adjective and cannot be made plural. Therefore, it's incorrect to say Legos. Brick lives matter. Believe it or not. North Carolina was the site of the initial prominent gold rush in the United States in 1799, when Conrad Reed found a large gold nugget on his family's farm. Believe it or not. As much as 4% of the sand on Normandy's Omaha beach is broken down shrapnel. Believe it or not. The phrase, "know your onions," is a 1920s slang for being an expert on a topic. I guess know your garlic means you're a dummy. Believe it or not. Woodrow Wilson is the only U.S. president to have a Ph.D. Believe it or not. An ultra-crepidarian is someone who confidently shares opinions on topics they lack knowledge about. Well, I do know about everything. Believe it or not. The number 4 is the only number with the same number of letters as its numerical value. This episode is brought to you by the number 4. Believe it or not. Despite what's seen on the popular Looney Tunes cartoon, coyotes are twice as fast as the roadrunners. Meep meep. Believe it or not. Lego comes from the Danish phrase leg godt, meaning play well. Believe it or not. Located in Wisconsin, the Riots geographical marker is the halfway point between the equator and the North Pole, as well as the Greenwich Meridian and the International Dateline. Believe it or not. Chinese checkers was created in Germany. Believe it or not. At the request of Sir Winston Churchill's family, there must always be a marmalade cat called Jock, with a white bib and boots, in the residence at Chartwell, Churchill's home. Believe it or not. In 2015, Costco sold more hot dogs at their food courts than all Major League Baseball games combined. Believe it or not.
What do you call a group of cows playing instruments?
What?
A musical band.
Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
What do you call a can opener that doesn't work? A can't opener.
Why did the bicycle fall over? Because it was too tired.
What do you call a bear with no socks on? Barefoot.
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
3 conspiracy theorists walk into a bar. Now you can't tell me that's a coincidence.
Why is dark spelled with a K? Because you can't see in the dark. Apparently 30% of owners let their pets sleep in their bed. Not a good idea though. I let mine. My goldfish died.
Why did the smartphone go to school?
Why?
It wanted to improve its self-awareness.
What did the left eye say to the right eye?
What?
Between you and me, something smells.
Why don't calendars ever get invited to parties?
Why not?
They're just too full of dates.
What did the blanket say to the bed?
What?
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
Why did the bicycle break up with the unicycle?
I don't know. Why?
It needed space. 2 wheels were too much commitment.
An invisible man marries an invisible woman. The kids were nothing to look at either. Yesterday I called my landlord and said I got a leak in my sink. He said, "Go ahead, I'm not judging." I have a fear of elevators. I'm taking steps to avoid it. Just seen a burglar kicking in his own door. He must have been working from home. I'm not a fan of elevator music. It's bad on so many levels. What word starts with E and ends with E, but only has one letter in it?
What?
Envelope. It's a 5-minute walk from my house to the bar, but it's a 45-minute walk from the bar to my house. The difference is staggering.
What subject do cows take in school?
What?
Calculus. What's the scariest plant in the forest?
What?
Bamboo! I just saw a TV program on beavers. It was the best damn program ever. How do you get a Pikachu on the bus?
How?
You Pokemon.
International Small Dogs Conference. I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, the author of What Are You Looking At? A Guide to Interacting with Big Dogs. After consulting with the best minds here at the hospital, the only thing we can come up with is that you should go outside and eat grass. Oh, Forg, the new bird feeder is wonderful. I didn't need to tie his hands. I just entered it into his GPS. In 3 feet, the destination is below you. I woke up, my face covered in catnip, and I thought, is this how I want to live my life? The answer was yes. Follow your passions. Thank you. Human Resources. C. Callier. Well, Suzanne, if you're feeling horribly ill, by all means stay home from work. I'm curious, however, why my caller ID says you're calling from the Tiki Resort in Maui. If you start to feel dizzy or weak, get outside immediately. Your new pacemaker is solar powered. Mouse of the Month Club. It says we picked 4 for you to enjoy and 1 to drop on your human's pillow. Oh, this is so worth the money. Destroy that toy. When I lift the lid, you have 6 seconds to, well, you know what to do. If you join our wine club, you can push all your empty tasting glasses off the counter. This guy's good. Appliance healers. I command the foul demons that have clogged this vacuum cleaner to come out! Okay, boy. One more time. Then I'd better get this thing back to the battlefield. I can grant you your first 2 wishes. But even I can't unsubscribe you from all the email lists. He's called Rumba. Make sure it looks like an accident. At the National Contractor Institute. Contractorese. English. 1 week equals 5 weeks. About $1,000 equals 10 grand. We're breaking for lunch equals see you next week. Maybe. Don't worry, I'll fix it equals in my next lifetime. It's normal for the floors to shift like that equals in a funhouse maybe. Cat Hotel. We got a cardboard box for $30, a laundry basket for $50, or the top of the refrigerator, our penthouse, for $125. After 50,000 gallons of whiskey leaked into the sea, no turn was left unstoned. That's 2 tossed salads, 1 egg drop soup, and 1 pulled pork. Nice. All your friends signed your cone. They only went for catfish. What's taking them so long? Here's what I wrote. Happy Father's Day, human. You're a pretty cool dude, even though you're too cheap to buy us wet food. Did you underline that last part? Google Maps Street View. You're not getting accurate photos. Why are you going so fast? Because we stole this car and the cops are chasing us, you idiot. But he broke the law. I know. But he's too old. We can't even charge him. See? The 3 a.m. show. Now Miss Molly is going to show us the secret to making great biscuits. It all starts with a warm lap, Amy. Every August, the fleas would test their endurance in the grueling Tour de Franc. Could you come back later? He's catching a few Y's right now. Context. Can you tell me what the word means? Someone who texts from jail. Vern's Plumbing. And you tried jiggling the handle, right? Early battering rams. Let me see that owner's manual again. Pilot. We're now flying over 20,000 feet. I'll be. I must have been holding the dang work order like this. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the next level of personal protection. And that concludes another Opa's Corner. Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you, Opa, for another great Opa's Corner. This week's History's Mysteries is brought to you by our good friend Kristen, so check this out. I want to introduce you guys to somebody named Kristen, who's one of the biggest forces behind Skiba News Nation. This is Kristen. She helps us get all the big guests. I understand that you're doing this full time now, so how can people find out how to use your service?
Well, I started Fellow Helper Agency, and you can go to fellowhelperagency.com. And I do any of the behind the scenes, email, getting the interviews, and I do prep work for the shows as well. I do timestamps and moderating.
She is the best with connects. If you like any of our shows, any of our big guests, she's the person to go to. And if you have a channel, definitely go to our website. So go check out fellowhelperagency.com. It's time for an all-new History's Mysteries. So this week is more of the histories part of History's Mysteries because my wife and I went to Dearborn, Michigan, and we visited the Henry Ford Museum. And I took a lot of video for you guys, so let's go ahead and play this first one of the actual museum. So check this out. So the day that this opened, there's Thomas Edison's signature and shovel. Pretty awesome. Not only known for his cars, but for his fiddling. He was a great fiddler. I wonder if you can hear any of his music on YouTube.
I guess he called them fiddles, but they were violins. He was kind of like a redneck, because he was like a country boy. He was like, go get my fiddle, but it was really a violin.
Go get my fiddle so I can play you some Beethoven or whatever.
That was a microscope used by George Washington Carver, first African American to earn an advanced degree in agricultural science.
He liked peanuts. That would definitely squish you. Those tires look like they're metal.
23-ton engine.
You can't even get it all in the frame.
Whoa. I want to touch it. Can I touch it?
You probably could.
They get mad at me if I touch it?
Yeah, it's metal.
That would squish you. That would squish you.
The Wienermobile. That's one big wiener. Oh, looks just like it. These are all the wiener toys, like the promotional.
A wiener whistle.
A wiener whistle. I want a wiener whistle or a wiener watch.
A Wienermobile wristwatch.
A wiener whistle and a wiener watch. Oscar Mayer wieners.
thought the thing would be over here.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be an Oscar Mayer wiener.
Well, then
See,
you're the
you
only
want
one.
a selfie with the wiener?
I bet
Okay.
there's somebody over there that did wish they were an Oscar Mayer wiener.
Now, when we told everybody that we were coming to Dearborn, the number one thing that people said wasn't, hey, are you going to check out the Henry Ford Museum? They said, hey, there are going to be a lot of Muslims there. And, you know, they were right. They're everywhere. Which is fine, I guess. This is all one big engine. Or something. It's 2 stories. I don't know exactly what
Ford.
What it was used for.
This is, I guess, where you would, like, run it. This is so big. Also great, dangerous and crowded industrial cities, air pollution, coal engines, and other industrial
Dark
processes
satanic
cause serious health
mills.
problems.
It's all satanic, guys. It's all...
They called it satanic because it was harmful.
How come Edison kind of looks like Elvis right there? There's a Tesla.
Oh, there, look, there's his last breath.
His last breath. I don't know how they managed to do that, but...
There it is! Yeah, I was waiting to see it!
And there's a
His
Tesla
very
death
last
mask
breath.
over there. See it? Tesla's death mask all the way at the end.
Oh.
That's what I got a little bit on video. Tesla's death mask. I wonder if he approved of that. He was like, yeah, you guys can take molds in my face when I'm dead. Probably not. But that kind of felt
Was
weird.
his
to me.
head that small?
If you hold it
Was
up
it
to
like,
glass.
did he have a shrunken head, or was that...
I think it's it was actually normal size.
Last breath.
Everything looks smaller on video apparently. This was a crazy section. The Wright brothers. It's amazing that we went from that to what we flew in the other day. And then there's the other brother. We didn't get to fly. That's rude. 2 people that had a bicycle shop. There's the other guy. Wilmer, or whatever. I don't know if his name is Wilmer or not, but he looked like a Wilmer.
Thing?
I think so.
Or is this a replica?
I don't know. It's an Amelia Earhart shirt. And her look is, I heard if you look at it real close, you can see Amelia Earhart's name on it. Now I'll zoom in here in a second.
Scheduled broadcast for a special news bulletin. This is Roger Allen reporting for WWJ Radio 950. July 5th, 1937, and Amelia Earhart is missing. Somewhere in the Pacific, faint radio signals from her airplane were heard.
She
But
didn't
several
really
days
do a
have
lot
passed
of great
since
things
the
for
trace of
women
the daring
pilots, I
pilot or
will
her
add.
navigator Fred Noonan has been seen or heard.
Just around the world. We were just saying, maybe they didn't go all the way around the world because the world doesn't look like that. I feel like I have a point there. It's a good point. They couldn't make it around the world because you can't go around the world.
4 a.m. If I could throw myself down on a bed, I'd be asleep in an instant. I'd pull the spirit of St. Louis up 200 or 300 feet above the water.
This thing is tiny.
Shake my head and body roughly. Flex.
So tiny, isn't it?
I must think about problems. What's the matter? The lights are rising. They're too.
This is all.
How did Henry Ford end up with all this stuff?
What's his name? Lindenberg or whatever. It's all his stuff. Limburg.
The Fokker airplane. Ladies and gentlemen.
The Fokker airplane. Could you imagine? I mean, I'd rather do that than jump out of a plane, you know?
Whee! It's kind of interesting, the thing on the front.
Is that a spare tire on the front?
Lynsi said it was for aerodynamics. They were testing the aerodynamics for their plane.
Air Reliability Tour Trophy. Henry Ford's son, Edsel, helped design the sterling silver trophy. Edsel B. Ford Trophy.
George Washington's writings.
And that is what George Washington slept in when he was
It
the
just
general.
falls out of there.
Oh, thin. Oh my gosh. Like the picture's drawn of him.
Yeah, in his hand? What is
Big
he?
hands.
Yeah. I think he was like 6 foot something. This is the chair that Abraham Lincoln was shot in at Ford's Theater.
You know, I didn't put this together until like
See that? That's hair grease.
2
right
days
there.
later.
And the
but
blood is down there.
Ford's Theater,
Bottom.
like Ford. I don't know if there's any relation, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, he didn't die that day. He was like
It was in the Ford's Theater.
That's what I said. Ford's Theater. This is the chair that he was assassinated in, but he didn't die till the next day. But see, all that's all hair grease up at the top. That's not blood. The blood is in the seat, is what I hear.
Well, there looks like a little bit of blood on the side right there.
They did a
But yeah, a lot in the seat. Look at that.
recent DNA testing, because when he was shot, his head went to the, kind of like JFK, back into the left, but forward and down.
Ooh.
Parks, great for America.
Rosa Parks.
But it wasn't for this man right here. None of this would happen.
I feel like that's a good point that nobody brings up.
This is President Ronald Reagan's limousine.
They're not that long of limousines.
No. And apparently this is JFK's limousine. It says that, but it's only the frame that's the same. But
They say that's the car that he was assassinated in. And it was,
his
kind of.
brains were blown out on the back of that car. Pretty cool. Eisenhower.
It's a bubble top.
And bubble top. I don't know if that window would prevent a bullet. Yeah, FDR. Is that a Ford?
It's a Lincoln.
You know, I heard he was a cripple, but I don't know.
There's the Mobilorama for the...
Yeah. Kennedy.
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
Teddy Roosevelt's
This is Teddy's.
presidential, I guess, horse carriage? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Oh, that's the wrong.
So this
we're
was
here
not
at the Triumph Church.
We had to do our own
and it
research.
looks like the beginning of a horror movie.
To
I'm
find
trying to
this
find
place.
Henry Ford's grave, but there are all these garages in this big old church. It makes us feel weird. Look, it's like abandoned. Look. Freaking crazy. There's a broken window.
We did this for you guys. There were drug deals happening in the parking lot, and probably people with guns.
The flowers are still pretty. That's so weird. Okay. See it?
So we learned from Gary Wayne that Henry Ford was not a Freemason, but there are Freemasons in his family. And this was like so far away from the church.
Ford's grave. Right here. Henry Ford. That's his wife, Clara Ford. That's so crazy. I don't know why the gates are on here, but I think I kind of understand why now. Look at that big obelisk. There's another one, Henry Ford over here. Ford. Look, this says to him. It says Henry Ford, born December 26th. Is that right? Y'all December 28th?
Yeah, maybe 6. Yeah, 6. My birthday.
We don't think that that's Henry Ford though, because he died in 1947.
What the hell? See all these lettered? Oh, Freemason Ford.
Freemason Ford.
But he's like, do you think he's like actually related?
There's another thing.
You know, it's weird because this one looks like it's been tampered with. There's another car. All over it.
We were looking for his son, Edsel Ford, who died before his dad.
I don't see his son. Where's his son?
I know. That's why I was looking for it. That's it.
Harold
I don't know
Ford.
if these big ones that just say Ford.
Well, that means that, like, normally it means that they are the plot. So it's like, see how it says over here, Samuel and Catherine Ford.
So it's holding a plot. So that is holding a plot for these two.
Well, I don't know, because this one says Ford. Harold Ford. I mean, it would have had to be, you said he died before his dad, right?
Yeah, he did.
You see all these with the initials? It just says, like over there it says JF. Those are slaves, I think. I'm pretty positive.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
Look at this. Radiation. Fallout shelter.
This creeped us out a little bit.
Oh, look down there. That's where they hide the bodies.
Oh my gosh, there's a light on, babe.
I'm not kidding.
Okay, yeah, that's in the wrong place.
That's what?
This isn't this. Definitely.
So trashed. Looks like they've had to repair it. It looks like the people that take care of Henry Ford's grave are like a select group of people, like bikers almost. Sounds weird, but I know.
So we had to look that up because on YouTube we couldn't find anything about where it was buried. Nobody really broadcasted it, but we have so much more, and we'll talk about it in the next live. I'll have Lynsi come on and she can show some of the cars that we saw and a lot of other things, because I wanted it to be shorter for you guys, because I'm about to show you. So Henry Ford loved history, like I love history, and that's why I like Henry Ford so much. But he would actually preserve history by moving historical homes to a piece of property called Greenfield Village. And so we got an all access pass to where we could go to visit the museum and the village. So check this out.
We just got our photo with the Henry Ford statue. We're going into Greenfield Village. It says up there.
I feel like we're at Disney World or like Six Flags or something.
Except it's more historical. And lots of more screaming kids, I feel.
There's a big old cow.
You gonna stand on the train tracks? No. Smells like horses, and it's because over there are some horses. Those poor horses. Pretty horses.
Big horse.
Omnibus company.
This is Ford's home. It was, I guess, like the home he was born and raised in.
Okay, that's why it's so tiny. It's bigger than Elvis's house, childhood home. We can go inside.
He restored the home and made sure that everything was exactly as he remembered. For 18 months, he sent people around the country searching for the dining room stove, like the one he had as boyhood home.
Whose bedroom is this?
Oh my gosh, look at the tiny little chairs. George Washington.
They had, every home almost had a portrait of George Washington.
Play Light My Fire on that.
Doesn't everything look so small?
I mean, my great grandma had furniture like that. I mean, that little rocking chair is like for kids, I think, or for a midget.
So it was a 2-bedroom house.
I will say, every time I've seen a vlog about this place, there's not a lot of screamage.
You take this little tool here, which you can see kind of looks like a really itty crochet hook. You'll be able to push it down through the spaces in the burlap, and then pull up a piece of this little strips of fabric, hold themselves in place. So you don't really need to glue this like a modern hook. It's pretty It would have been used as a rug.
I'm trying to get a little bit away from the screaming. Hey, Henry Ford probably touched that doorknob.
Yeah.
You want to touch it?
No.
Here's a watch part that he would probably tinker with. And that's a trash can, apparently, to those kids.
This is the kitchen here.
The kid said that was a trash
They
can.
had a wood stove here, and then it's a step stove for obvious reasons.
They don't care about history.
But the fire chamber, the firebox is in the front. And then there's chambers underneath that carry the heat to the burners, and then up around into the oven. There's a box inside there, so it is very much like a convection oven. It only burns wood. You can burn coal in a wood stove, but you can't burn wood. You can't burn coal in a wood stove. It's the cold storage, so it's about 3 feet lower than this room here. It's got brick floor, brick walls, and it stays much cooler. And then that door there is the door to the garden, the kitchen garden. So, Mrs. Ford wouldn't have to walk through the whole house or walk all the way around. So we have a door there so she can go right out there and pick what she wants for
I asked that lady what happened to her arm, and she said she punched a kid.
Redo the inside of the house, like
I made that up.
1876 when his mom was still alive.
That's cool.
And that's, he does everything he and Claire picked out. So
That's awesome.
And now, look at that sink. You had to, crank that sink.
well, that pump.
That's a Helen Keller sink.
Heat the water, it's from a cistern, so you can't, drink it. But you could boil it and then put it in, use for washing dishes. You would use that water to bathe with. Most of the water you bring into the home is for cleaning, bathing.
Apparently back then you used to bathe in the sink.
Washing dishes and stuff.
Alright, we went on that
was
train.
this?
It's pretty cool.
So this is where he made the quadricycle, his first quadricycle.
Right.
And it was too big for him to fit through the door.
Okay.
And so you can see right here, he had to take bricks out to make the doorway wider. He knocked out some bricks so he could get it out.
Looks like we can go inside. That's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, there's a little quadricycle. That's not the original. We saw the original in the museum, but that's pretty much what it looked like, little different colors. But this was his workshop. This is kind of crazy. This is way crazy. The vehicle types are starting to include this in outdoor factory and large buildings.
This replica is 1/4 size of the original building.
It was like Disney World, but for American history. That's probably the best way I can describe it. So, very much worth the price of admission, I will say.
Very
Wow.
cool. The one that he's photoed with in the museum?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's about 60 miles on it.
Wow.
They drove it from Highland Park here. It was at the recorder's office for a while. And then it's been here ever since.
Wow. And of course, we got to ride in the Model T, which is pretty cool. I held the mic close to the guy so we could hear what he was saying.
Where are you guys from?
Dallas.
Is it Texas?
Yes.
Came here just for this.
Well, today, folks, we're in a 1927 Model T.
That was probably my favorite place to write.
1909
Cycle shop.
1927, and during that era, over 15 million Model Ts were built. By the early 20s, the Model T is the most popular car in the world. Fords account for nearly half the cars in North America. Now, if you have any questions as we're driving around, please feel free to holler out.
What are your favorite places here?
Wright Cycle Shop.
Okay.
Aviation history has always been a study of mine. That's where they invented the airplane. Now, as we make the turn here, we're coming into the Edison, we're coming into porches and parlor. This is where many of our historic homes are located, including the homes of such notables as George Washington Carver, Noah Webster, and Robert Frost.
That's awesome. We went to Henry Ford's grave yesterday, and I was just surprised that there's not a whole lot about that.
I'm sorry, sir?
We went to his grave yesterday, and we were just kind of surprised that, you know, nobody, like, you can't find a YouTube video about it, so we had to look it up ourselves. We love how he really loved history.
I'm surprised he's not buried on his property.
Yeah, like
well,
Elvis.
no, they've got a family plot over there. And they had to put you saw the ironwork across it?
Right.
Because there were people threatening to steal his body.
Why do they do that with famous people? It's so weird.
Who knows? I've given up worrying about some people a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now this end of the village holds the oldest buildings in the village. Stone structures coming up on the left were built in England in the early 1600s. The windmill is the oldest windmill in the Americas. Built in Cape Cod around 1630. What brings you up to Detroit?
This. The Ford Museum. So what kind of animals are on the property?
Well, we got a farm. We got cows, they got horses, they got sheep, chickens, turkeys. You know, we got wild turkeys all over there. So,
We saw a goose attack.
Firestone Farm, what they would have had at Firestone Farm, that's what we got.
I know my mom would love that windmill.
Now, as far as wild animals, we got deer, we got coyotes, we got turkeys, a couple of groundhogs.
Wow.
That's Webster House, where he wrote the dictionary. That's
cool.
the prettiest house inside in the village. Webster had money before he wrote the dictionary. You better have it.
Yeah, so some of them you can go in, right? And some
Almost
of them
all of them you can
almost
go in.
all.
If the door is shut, try it. But some
Okay.
of the buildings have climate control because of the artifacts inside. Quite often you get down to Webster House and it'll be shut, but there's presenters in there. They just don't want all the damn air coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At the bottom of the hill, we're coming into the Edison at work area. Gray building on the left, on the right, excuse me, is Tom Edison, Fort Myers Laboratory. Most people think of Edison, of course, think of electricity. That's actually an agricultural laboratory. Looking for industrial uses of farm products, pardon me, primarily a substitute for rubber. Yellow building is Sarah Jordan Boarding House in Menlo Park, New Jersey. That's the first house in the world to have electric lights.
Wow.
Then over on the left, the gray building in the back, Edison's lab where he perfected those lights.
I love how Henry Ford just moved all these historic places to one spot.
Yep. Well, a lot of these buildings have been lost to wrecking ball. When Henry started the village and a museum, America did not have a sense of its own history.
Yep.
Okay? You couldn't do this today.
No.
I mean, every town's going to have a historic commission and, you know, all red tape and everything. But, I mean, some of these were in really bad shape when he found them. The Eagle Tavern over there, I'd see pictures of that when he had acquired it. There were holes in the wall you could have thrown a cat through. The old Clinton stagecoach stop from the 1850s. It's from the Detroit to Chicago run. You get a sit-down meal, you got in a stagecoach stop in the 1850s, served the way it would have been served. I've been here 23 years, never had a bad meal in there. It's a little pricey, but it's a wonderful experience. And it's got two things going for it. One is you can get a beer there. Number two is none of these kids are going to be in there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. How fast does this car go?
On modern roads, it'll do 40. But when it was built, less than 10% of the roads in the United States were paved, and it was designed to do those roads at 25 miles an hour. Now, that's not all that fast to us, but you got to remember, a horse pulling a wagon on the same roads averages about 4 miles an hour. And that's why the Model T was actually more popular in the rural areas than it was in the city. For the simple fact that back in the era, if you lived in the city, pretty much everything you needed was within walking distance. But now in the country, all of a sudden you got a vehicle where you go farther in 1 hour than you used to be able to travel in a day, farther in a day than you could travel in a week. Well, guys, have a good one.
So this is where the Riots bicycle company was before they did airplanes. See, he said exactly what I felt about Henry Ford, like he cared about American history.
Do you know who shot this was? Do you know who the Wright brothers were?
No.
Maybe.
Do you know who the Wright brothers were?
No.
So some little kids.
I know who they are.
I said I'm dyslexic and I know who they were.
1936. The actual building where they built here. There were gliders, just like their heroes were doing. And they're taking down their
Right.
This is his first airplane, right? Same tools, he said?
Yeah, this is.
It's amazing that from 1903 to like where we are now, like the way planes may even look different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There. This is the Wright family home.
Like the wraparound porch.
Mm-hmm.
No, not up to code. They were built by Orville and
There's a
Wilbur
guitar.
in the 1890s.
Have you ever went up there?
Oh yeah, I have, and we do tours of it because it's so small. We can only take 2 or 3 people at a time, and so we said it's completely restored. It's just tiny, and the If I let you go up there, I made the mistake many years ago when I first started working here of letting some kids go up there, and then it took me to the end of the day to get them down because crowds came in. And there's only one way up and down, and it's right there. 1.3 million today. And this is their baby sister, Catherine, who we were just talking about.
Okay, so here's a sign.
Thomas
Edison's.
Menlo Park Complex. It's the birthplace of the electric light.
Allegedly.
Coal. Look at all that coal. It's like, this is like what you would expect at the bottom of like a cruise ship or like the Titanic. Like they're huge, huge, multiple story. Look at the, look, it even goes far back that way. Jeez, look at these belts. So this is why he was looking for different
Rubber,
right? Because you need rubber to run some of these giant machines. And so they were looking for different agricultural methods to produce different rubber for cheaper or faster.
And that would have helped Henry Ford because they were friends at that time for the cars, I'm sure.
Exactly. So they both had an interest in it. Man, this looks so old, but it worked, you know? This is how it started. This right here. We are standing in the middle of where electricity started. This giant machine, and then you just see these tiny little bulbs.
Yeah, the Edison bulb. Those are actually my favorite bulbs, like when it comes to like in the house, because they're not like prison lights, is what my mom called them.
Facts.
How do you create a machine like this? That just blows my mind.
Very carefully. Look, he probably would have been here overseeing everything. He probably touched this desk right here.
The foreman's office. Edison and one of his assistants had an idea. He figured out how to make it.
Is that an Edison hat back there? And all those test tubes and
I know. It looks like a real laboratory. Look at all the rocks. Like he's making like little pots and stuff out of it.
Every little item inside both of these cases is a brand new concept invention. And the handwriting on those tags, you're in the main laboratory of Thomas Edison's invention factory.
This dude had a golden voice.
Thank you, sir.
But then he went on break.
Enjoy. This is one of the few buildings where you can go upstairs if you would like.
Oh, okay.
he said this was really Thomas Edison's handwriting.
That guy had an amazing voice.
Yeah, I did.
Into the museum, you'll notice this very large painting of a banquet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the who's who of 1929 Jubilee. Now, Edison, who's sitting in the chair here, and this gentleman here, Francis Yale, they came in a couple of days early from where they were living at. What do you point out to the center?
So this is Sarah Jordan's boarding house, where many Thomas Edison's unmarried male workers lived. It was run by a widow, Sarah Jordan, who was a distant relative of Edison's first wife. And this was the first home to ever be wired for electrical light. It's very pretty.
Yeah. There's a light bulb up there. See?
There you go. You have that wired.
This is Sarah's bedroom. The boarding house lady with a creepy doll on the bed.
Okay, be careful with these stairs.
Room for each person.
Not very bright, but it works.
So I guess there was no electricity on the second floor, but on the first floor, the rooms had a fancy light in this room.
And an apple pie.
The wallpaper is so much.
Cooler?
Every room has its own wallpaper, and it like makes me dizzy.
To the Sarah Jordan boarding house. These were living quarters for some of the men who worked for Thomas Edison right across the street at Menlo Park. However, the home is not here primarily.
I bet it's just a box.
It's the slave quarters.
Where are you? Look, you can kind of see it right here. Yeah, there ain't nothing in there.
It's the Webster House.
It's over 200 years old. It was built in 1823. And the author, Noah Webster, the author of the first American English dictionary. Not the first English dictionary, there were plenty of those. American dictionary with American spellings. And it's because of Noah Webster why we all look at British spelling and think that they spell words funny. Like color, C-O-L-O-U-R, music with a K at the end. Those are all British spellings. This is the first time American spellings come into vogue. It also included about 1,500 colloquial words, that is, words that would only make sense in America. So if you had traveled over the Atlantic Ocean back in 1830 and told somebody over there that after you were finished with the chores, you saw a skunk and had some clam chowder, they would have absolutely no idea what you just said.
That's where the Webster Dictionary was. Hey, there's another.
Lots of books.
And there's some rain boots down there.
Okay.
Feel free to pause this video and look at all the books that I don't read. Geeses. Lots of geeses.
So I couldn't show all the footage because it would have been like hours long, so I just tried to make it as short as I could with as much, interesting things I could fit in it. So I hope you guys found that interesting. That's what I got for History's Mysteries. On our upcoming live stream, Lynsi will come on. We'll show some more stuff that we filmed at the Henry Ford. That's what it's called, the Henry Ford. So I very much recommend going to Dearborn, Michigan and checking it out if you're into American history. And if not, then, you're lost. But that's all I got. So
hey, man, I loved it. I loved your journey, and I love when you guys go to historical places and like, it's so interesting to hear your fascinations about different things. And for one, I'm so glad you shared the picture of the vial of his last breath. Man, so cool.
Yeah, they were really good friends, and apparently his son got his last breath and kept it. I would have preferred a last fart, but that's just me, I guess. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and you got some memes for me?
Yeah, I got a couple.
All right, meet me up. Meet me up.
So just remember, a privilege we don't talk about enough is being surrounded by genuine friends and people who truly love you. If you have that, you're already richer than most.
Facts.
And we are also seemingly surrounded by pandas. This is what a land panda looks like, and a sea panda, an air panda, and an ice panda. Yes, indeed.
Pandas don't exist.
Well, In more humorous news, Al-Qaeda leader Saad bin Atef and al-Awlaki has just now called for American Muslims to wage jihad on U.S. soil. So, yeah, heads up. Also, in breaking humorous news, violent riots have now been reported in over 30 American cities. Here's a full list.
Is that real?
And last but not... yes, that's what's so crazy about this. And one more funny for your funny bone. The English language is more dangerous than the crocodiles. So, does this say that crocodiles are there? Do not swim there? Or is the sign saying crocodiles do not swim here? It's okay to swim here.
Well, that's why Webster's dictionary is so important, and that home is so important. Commas matter. Hashtag commas matter.
All right. So, okay. So you have a 50-50 choice here, and maybe both Opa and Jeremiah can answer this riddle, right? You're offered $500,000 to read this sign and swim. However, if you read the sign and don't swim, then you don't get $500,000, but also you don't risk being eaten by a crocodile. Would you what way would you lean? Does this say there are crocodiles, or does this say there are not crocodiles?
Well, I would say go ahead and swim, because crocodiles are only in they're not in America. So, you know, if it's here in the U.S., they'd be alligators. So I would do it.
Yep, I agree 100%. It's kind of like
you guys are telling me they don't have crocodiles in Florida?
Only in the zoo. They have a lot of alligators.
Alligators in the swamp.
Swamp gators.
Maybe that picture was from somewhere else.
Or maybe they think crocodiles are alligators.
Yeah, I mean, crocodiles are always bigger and scarier than alligators, right? Alligators are a little bit more kind of...
You can tell by their
docile.
beak, snout, and
Here's another panda.
Yeah.
Panda. Hey, say hello.
Oh, that's a bit
Panda
sick.
agent.
Panda cat.
Hello, he said.
Panda cat. There we go. Hey, I had one last video to show you guys. It's a friend we met in Texas last year. He's Sam Tripoli, and apparently on Joe Rogan's podcast, he predicted 2025 eerily close. So I wanted you guys to see this.
We're in the Bolshevik War right now, bro. And right now what's coming up is all the pride stuff is going to be... Okay, so I had this woman come on my podcast. Her name's Mel K. She goes, I've been talking to some people in the intelligence, and they go, this gay pride stuff is going away. And the next thing you're going to see are immigration riots. This is going to be right around the next election. So hand to God, we do this episode. Next day, Starbucks is like, we're banning all the pride stuff. And now you start seeing these they're putting little breadcrumbs out, man. Little breadcrumbs. Oh, I saw this one thing in Chicago. Oh, yeah, illegal immigrants are upset about where they're staying. And these illegal immigrants who speak no English are holding up perfectly written English signs saying we're tired of how we're being treated. And now you're starting to see this over and over again. Eric, so everyone's always like, when all these Republican governors are like sending these immigrants all over the country, everyone's like, yeah, you're showing those Democrats. Bro, they're moving assets. I know it sounds crazy, but that is 100%
What do you mean they're moving assets? What do you mean?
Dude, these guys coming into the country, bro, have you seen them? A lot of them are Chinese, and a lot of them are military-age
Russian,
people.
too.
And I'm telling you, they're moving, and this is what's going to be right around 2024 election. Immigration riots, people going nuts, and as listen to this, and you'll start seeing all the little breadcrumbs.
That's
I'm
what I'm
telling
doing.
you, that's what they want you to think.
You're buying it.
Oh, I thought I
They're
was
moving assets, bro.
You're the puppet.
They're moving assets.
What do you mean, like military people?
Dude, study the Bolshevik War. It is happening in
Bolshevik
real
revolution?
time. 100%.
But
I just wanted to get that out to everybody because I'm trying to warn people. This is what's next.
You know what's crazy about that is that when we met him and they were trying to get to their car, do you remember that guy? I had to stand in front of this guy that was like, I'm a CIA guy and I can be of help to you. And I helped Eddie Bravo get in the car because this dude was like up in his face. So it's kind of funny that he comes out with all this.
Yeah, we were there the night that the CIA guy tried to talk to Eddie Bravo and Sam, and they were like, you know, dodging out of the club or whatever. Really interesting.
For sure.
Well, that's all the news and the memes for this week, Jeremiah.
All right, thanks, Jake, for another great current news and memes as always. Opa, thank you for another great Opus Corner, and I hope you enjoyed today's Histories Mysteries segment. And stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned. If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.